Hi, this is Mike with episode 28 of Getting Everyone Moving by Palms and Pines Parasports. And today we have Ahkeel Whitehead, who is quite a leader in the field of adaptive sports. He's at San Diego State University. Hey, Ahkeel.
Hey, how are you doing, Mike?
All right, man. Hey, so how did you get involved in adaptive sport?
Yeah, in high school, my track and field coach introduced me to his former teammate and at the Olympic Training Center, Joachim Cruz, and that's actually how I got involved. I was running track and field, and my coach just noticed I had cerebral palsy, and after running for a year, he was like, "I need to introduce you to this guy," and that set me off on a very cool journey. Eventually, leading me to run for Team USA for the next 4 years. So that was in 2014. And yeah, I haven't just really looked back since then.
Hey, now I know you met former President Obama.
hmm
What was that like? That must have been incredible.
Yeah, yeah, no. For those who don't know, once you make Team USA and you head over to, to Rio, wherever the games are, you're invited to head to the White House, right? And it was wonderful for me, but definitely a bit stressful, mostly because um, at the time I was still finishing up my senior year of college, and the day that everybody from Team USA was going to the White House was the it was like the right in between two midterms for me. So I had like a midterm, hopped on a plane, met Obama, and then hopped back for another midterm. So it was crazy. So when I got there to Washington, it was raining and everything. But once I got to the hotel, there's all Team USA there in uniform, and we all hopped on buses to head over to the White House and the Oval Office, and it was just a wonderful experience. At some point, we were in the White House, all kind of lined up, and we were just kind of moving through. There's like 100 of us on Team USA, right? And at some point, one of the people working, one of the guardsmen, they have people representing from the Navy, the Army, and so forth, right? He kind of comes over to myself and a couple of my teammates, and he goes, "Hey, are you guys ready to meet POTUS?" And lo and behold, we kind of look to our left, and there he is, 10 feet from us with Michelle and Vice President Joe Biden. And yeah, I got the chills, man. I thought about all these things I wanted to say to him and things like that. And as soon as I got to shake his hand, my mind it just went blank. So it was very exciting, and he's every bit as excellent as he seems from afar. He really is.
Oh, amazing, amazing. Now, Kil, you've done some amazing things. I mean, at San Diego State University, can you kind of
Hey,
talk
thank you.
about that journey? Because it's the only college in California, right, that has adaptive, collegiate level adaptive sports. So how did that happen?
Yeah, yeah. When I was a senior in college, especially after coming back from Rio and all that stuff, I had come across two instructors at San Diego State. One was actually one instructor, one professor at San Diego State, who had thought about starting wheelchair basketball here at the university. The lady, she's actually over getting her PhD at Oregon State right now. She, attended a wheelchair basketball camp over the summer and was like, look at all these kids that are playing wheelchair basketball. I wonder if they could come play at San Diego State. And once I kind of got involved with those two, it opened up this huge sort of world of college adaptive sports. Now, mind you, my Olympic or Paralympic experience really was a unique one, right? I was able to train at the then Olympic Training Center in San Diego, as well as go to San Diego State as a student, and then I just commuted from there, from home, to school between the three, right? So I'm pointing that out because I wasn't a student athlete per se here at San Diego State. I was just a student. So when I heard the idea, it just struck a chord in me because they are essentially trying to build a program for athletes like me in college that want to run for the university competitively, right? And I'm pointing out competitively because I know we mentioned before, like, this is the first Collegiate Adaptive Sports Program in California. There actually are other rec programs. So, I want to make sure UCLA and Sacramento State and some of those that have been here are mentioned, because those guys do have recreational programs. But we were looking for not just a recreational program. We were looking for one that could rival University of Alabama, where we have facilities, offer scholarship, and offer programming for student athletes that eventually maybe want to compete on Team USA. So once I kind of got involved there, I joined a student organization, and really, I was trying to be a just mainly like a spokesperson for the idea. Like, this idea should matter. What do we need to do to make this happen? And lo and behold, hundreds of conversations later and meetings later, I came across some very just the right people at San Diego State that wanted to see this happen. Um, the College of Health and Human Services dean, the development team, Stacy Kuroda over there, um, Mark, the director of the ARC. There's just some people that were like, what, we see your passion, we see this need. What do we do to build this program? And I eventually, was able to find some coaches, find some athletes, and kind of put this thing together. And by the time, so I started working on this in 2016, 2016 fall, and by 2019 spring, we'd had, enough events, the business plan, the right. One of my co-founders is a major donor for us, Keith Jones. He funded a majority of the program, and 2019 spring, we were here officially, and I was here as the program director. And Yeah, that's been such a incredible journey, and unlike anything I've been part of before. It's just been a real just privilege just being part of this from inception to now.
So before COVID hit, which sports were you doing? And then, when school is back in session and you can meet face to face, what sports would you like to do over the next, say, 5 years?
Yeah. So before COVID, we were hosting wheelchair tennis and ambulatory track and field. And our tennis team, actually, in fact, 2019, we finished second in the nation in team play at USTA Collegiate Nationals. So that was a nice, just introduction to the rest of the United States for our program. And uh, when, or actually, even during COVID, we're still running the same programming. But over the next 5 years, really, we're hoping to have our program evolve um, into a rec club and elite sport level, where in the rec, we would just work with the campus to figure out, which sports that people would just like to play for fun. Maybe it's goalball, maybe it's sled hockey, maybe people want to try wheelchair basketball, or play wheelchair tennis, but at a lower level, just for fun. And The other thing that's surrounding just those sports is, for our elite sports, we still want to have a high level tennis program as well as a high level ambulatory track and field. We have been looking recently at para beach and sitting volleyball, which are two kind of emerging Paralympic sports. We have been looking very closely at wheelchair basketball. We definitely need some more funding for that, but wheelchair basketball is, we want to step into that ring as soon as we can. Um, and so those would kind of be on the high end. But surrounding the program, that I think doesn't get talked about a lot for us, is we offer sports nutrition, strength and conditioning, and just different efforts like that just kind of just support our program overall. They're part of our high performance staff, physical therapy, athletic training, and so forth. So, we are truly trying to create a experience for our student athletes that is comparable to, you know, those on the Division 1 side. Like, let's say you're on the football team. We want the same exact things that those athletes are receiving for our student athletes, and we are certainly making strides in that direction.
Now, San Diego State, it's so great. It's the first in California, but as you said, there are other recreational programs, but there are not that many colleges across the country with collegiate level adaptive sports. So, and I know you've been very kind of forthcoming and sharing information, but what more does it take for, colleges to start collegiate level adaptive sports? I mean, what is there some kind of formula that you would kind of follow or propose to others?
Yeah, yeah. And that's a really good question, Mike. Um, I've talked to multiple programs about this before. I've talked to just many, even in just the adaptive sports community, Paralympic community, that have said, what is the formula for starting these? And it kind of stems from uh, two, two to maybe three, like kind of like basic things, right? Because for starters, the awareness of Paralympic sport has to be there. Like it has to be there to the point where not only do people kind of see these sports and see the need and look at the research there, right? But then also feel kind of compelled to do something about it. So it's like awareness plus that feeling of like, we should help and do this, right? Now, the next thing that kind of comes after someone who's made aware that, okay, there's a whole bunch of, wheelchair basketball players, for example, that are here, all these youth programs and only so many universities to go to is, okay, great. These athletes are here. Now, what does it take to actually run this program? So, finances, getting the right coaching and personnel. Some of those things come up immediately next because, without money, really, you really can't do any of the things that we're talking about. Right now, um, my team has estimated that it's going to take, anywhere from 200 to 250K to run a wheelchair basketball team year round. And I just think that it's you just, where are you getting the funding for that? Is it coming from grants? Is it coming from donors? Is it coming from, no, maybe there's merchandise sales and things like that. What are your fundraising efforts looking like? How's your development office engaging with this? So you kind of get that fundraising, where are your financial needs and programming needs there, right? So once you have the awareness, you kind of looked at programming, looked at finances, then I would say the next best thing, which, again, we got lucky about, was just having somebody on the ground to continue to do this as often as they can. Um, when I was a younger student, my senior, when I was a senior thinking about this idea, I had a small idea of what it would maybe take to do this. But now that I've been in here doing this position for 2 years officially, it is not a regular job. This is something that I feel can, uh, it just, you're constantly making connections, you're constantly making awareness, you're constantly thinking about programming. And without somebody there that's kind of working on the program 24/7, then it doesn't really have a good shot. Now, the main reason I'm saying that too has to do with me wanting to be a program that rivals, Alabama, Arizona, and some of those. You could have a bare bones program with just maybe, goal ball that you're offering recreationally. I don't think that's too difficult. So, you kind of have to scale with your resources and things like that. What do you have? What do you want to do? And then kind of go after that. And, for some people, a lot of these programs have kind of risen and fallen depending on these factors, right? Their awareness went down. There was money taken out of their budget. They lost the part-time personnel that was working on this, and now no one else is working on it. So those are kind of the three major things that I would say to kind of follow and look at.
Okay. So, I've spoken both with Josh Pate and Kathy McKay from JMU.
Mhm.
And, there's a lot of research taking place there, a lot of working with people of varying abilities. But they said to me, the campus has a number of hills, right? Which
Mhm.
is a major barrier. So I'm wondering, how accessible is San Diego State? Is it pretty flat? Where would it attract people, who use a wheelchair for mobility?
Yeah, yeah. Our university, fortunately, I feel like is mostly flat. Now, with that being said, there are definitely a few hills here that are just like you would not want to go up them if you were utilizing a wheelchair. But at the same time, our campus has done a pretty decent job um, of just addressing some of those needs. With some of the big hills, there are elevators right there. The Student Ability Success Center here at San Diego State offers to take students up and down certain places via cart, you know. So I really like what our university has done in that area. And yeah, you know, that's definitely a barrier that I looked at very early on. When I started to have events here at San Diego State, I would have some of the people that were coming via wheelchair to just walk around with me on campus, just to give me an idea, like, hey, is this flat to you? Is this, you know, what about this spot? What about over here? What about over here? And no, I didn't travel all different parts of campus, but you know, I try to get to the main parts just to get just real feedback from people going, you know, does this feel very demanding, or is it, okay? But yeah, that's definitely something that I feel like always has to be looked at. You know, the sort of landscape of the campus and how hilly it can be, because people would rather be on flat ground, honestly, than to be pushing up and down all these hills all day.
Yeah, I mean, barriers are something that are very real, the physical barriers, so they have to
Right.
be looked at. So I spent time in Tucson and,
Mhm.
found it, I mean, just to be a real hotbed for adaptive sport. There's this whole culture. It's amazing. Is San Diego like that, or is it becoming that, where, people with, again, a variety of abilities, disability, feel really comfortable, and no matter what level you're at, that there's opportunities to play?
Yeah, the best way I could describe it is it has ebbed and flowed over time. Right around 25 years ago, I think San Diego was a hotbed for many different sports. I heard stories and talked with individuals that used to be around there going, wheelchair rugby was here, basketball was here. Volleyball was here, archery was here, and so on and so forth. And over time, the organizations that were kind of running it chose to sometimes either disband, or they were, just decided to go with different programming, or personnel went away. Like I said, funding went away. So because of that, in our community, it's changed over time. But right now, I think our city, San Diego, is making a comeback in this way, because there is wheelchair basketball at varying levels in the community, from the Wolfpack to the Silverbacks, to even the San Diego Hammer, and so forth here. There's sitting volleyball that's happening with the Challenge Athletes Foundation, and also there's para beach volleyball that's happening with Coach John in Carlsbad. Um, and we still, I mean, there's still ways to go right now, because like our city is just we're also dealing with COVID, so it's really hard to have some of these sports still happening on a regular basis for everyone. But I do know that they're still here. Another aspect that I don't always talk about and haven't delved into very deeply myself is part of the reason why our San Diego adaptive sports community is relatively strong has to do with our military base, right? With Camp Pendleton and things like that, we have wounded warriors that are over here that are, just doing paddle boarding, different aquatic sports, sitting volleyball, and hosting just different events of that nature. There's powerlifting that's happened over here. So, and finally, one of the at the highest level here, there is the Elite Athlete Training Center that's still, which is formerly the Olympic Training Center, right, in Chula Vista. They do have high level track and field there, and still a little bit of wheelchair tennis. So again, I think our city has a ways to go in creating a very solid pipeline, but these sports are here in patches, and I think over time it will just get better.
Okay. Akil, I mean, part of this, well, in many of the conversations I've had with people, part of this is creating more awareness,
Mhm.
so that people really get, adaptive sports.
Right.
And part of that awareness, once you create that awareness, I think it leads to a more inclusive society. So,
Mhm.
you're definitely creating awareness through the San Diego State program and all that. But
Mhm.
what else would you see uh, you, me, others doing to create, a more inclusive society?
Yeah. Outside of just our programming, I think I think something that we don't utilize very often is the actual other programs that are around here, right? So for my program, for example, we are trying to do our best to educate about our perspective about adaptive sports from the college space, from the elite athlete space, to hear these stories of our coaches and our athletes and so on and so forth, right? But um, we also we're not the only sort of perspectives here. And I think that our university really started to get around this idea once they started hearing from the people from like the Challenge Athletes Foundation, started hearing from the University of Alabama, started hearing from Angel City Sports and some of my just colleagues and friends over there, where they started realizing that this adaptive sports space is just a lot bigger than what we're just doing here at San Diego State. So for another organization, and let's just to say with your organization, in Vines, you guys can utilize us in some way to go, hey, we're let's have San Diego State University come over here, tell them about our programming and things like that to your athletes, to your supporters, to your things like that. And it's really, and it could literally just be for the sake of awareness to just showcase that this community is bigger. So I really think it kind of that sort of strength. And to summarize this a little bit, like we have to utilize each other. Really, we have to utilize each other. We have to continue to spread our different messages within each other and realize that we're actually all working towards the same goal. And the more that people feel like they're part of the mix, especially for someone that's new, whether that's a donor, a business, or things like that, when people get exposed to more people that are in the space, it kind of opens their eyes going, okay, we're part of something bigger than us, right? This Paralympic movement, or quote unquote. um, I think that's going to be the key for us a little bit down the road.
So we're getting towards the end of our interview. What are some final words, that you'd like to leave listeners with, whether it's, someone with a disability maybe who just got hurt and doesn't feel like there are other opportunities out there to continue to participate? I mean, what do you say to people, to get them moving?
Yeah. I mean, for starters, I have been coming back to this idea, especially in COVID, with um, given everything that's going on. I've constantly asked the coaches, athletes, our interns, what do you guys want to do? Like, what do you guys want to make out of this opportunity? Because I think what COVID did for a lot of us is kind of put into place, like, oh my goodness, like this life is a lot more fragile than we realize, you know? And if I am going to be putting my time into something, then I need to make sure that I am doing something that I want to do, and not necessarily just something that I just like have to do or need to do or something like that. Of course, it's not always straightforward. I don't want to, missay that, but for someone right now that maybe just got injured and they're going, I wonder what's next, or I wonder, um, what's my future going to hold for me. I would tell that person, you know what, you can make it into what you want it to be. Um, there, even though that this time right now or your situation right now may not be where you want it to go, you still have the power to kind of work towards the future that you want, you know and um even though that might not be the most, or maybe that's way more cliche, the next thing I would point to is evidence, right? I would go, look at some of these people in this industry. Not just, we could look at my program, but we could look at just the Tatiana McFaddens in the world, the Jessica Longs in the world, the people that are getting some spotlight on, like Team Jerome or Team Bravery for track and field, for that, and going, look, these guys were in some dire situations, not the most ideal, and they said, here's how I want to move. Here's what I want. Here's the future that I'm going to work towards. And lo and behold, there a lot of them I think are moving in that right direction. So that would be the message I would say to to anyone, to try to just get them motivated. What do you want to do? And check out some of these amazing people that are working towards what they want to do. Join us, join the pack. And even if you don't reach the goal that you're maybe set in your head, maybe maybe the goal is to make the Paralympic team or something like that. The, all of the effort and process and things I guess you're putting in yourself to attempt to reach that goal, and the things that you'll gain from going through that process, are going to be tremendous, and I promise you won't regret it.
Ahkeel, this has been terrific as always. Thank you so much for taking the time to talk with us.
Yeah, absolutely, Mike. Thank you for having me.